A very warm welcome, everybody. My name is Adam Hamadache. I am the CEO and founder of a digital marketing agency for hotels called Formula. If you're not familiar with some of the work that we do and the content we create, you're very welcome. And today is all about Google's biggest change in 25 years, as Google described it, as seen from that image that I've got on screen right now, where they unveiled some of these big changes. And inevitably the question you might be asking, I think you should be asking, is your hotel ready for what's coming this summer? Well, I'm going to talk to you today about what is coming this summer and indeed get you prepared for all of these big changes. Now I'm just going to swap my screens around so you can see the bigger one of the screen. Now on every single slide, you will find a QR code. If you like this or you want to go deeper, you can access the slides using that. It will send you to a page, and there'll be a couple of other options as well on that page too, including the AI Visibility Masterclass, which we're launching very, very soon. More on that in due course. But let's get started, shall we? Google's biggest change in 25 years. Make sure I've got the right screen. Okay, that's working. Lovely. So what we'll cover today, what Google has just announced, that was about three and a half weeks ago now, maybe a little bit longer, in terms of what some of these big changes. They produced an article that had 100 announcements from that conference. I'm going to summarize it all for you and tell you the things that I think you need to know as a priority for your business. The second thing we're going to be talking about, and I think this is the biggest change, is what page one will look like in a matter of weeks. We don't know when, but we've been told throughout the summer that there will start to see very big changes for what page one is actually going to look like. Importantly, why that affects your hotel. We're going to be talking about the rise of the AI shadow. I'll come on to talk about that in due course. The CARBS Framework is the framework that we created as a sort of a simplified way of understanding how to improve your visibility online. So I'm going to walk you through that. I'm also going to give you a 90-day action plan. If you've never done anything in terms of your AI visibility, or you're dipping your toe in the water, or indeed you've done some great work and you're not sure what to do next, I would prioritize these things in that section. So let's get straight into section one. What did Google announce? Well, it described it as the biggest upgrade to search in 25 years. And let's talk about what that actually means for individual hotel brands and groups and independent hotels too. So to summarize this, what actually happened previously? Well, I think it's worth just sort of pausing and just taking stock of why things have changed so wildly over the last few months and years, maybe sort of the last couple of years. The traditional search journey, or the traditional path to booking, relied on a lot of heavy lifting from the guest, and probably we all do a degree of this as well now. So effectively, we would visit multiple websites, we would compare options, and we would make our decision after a certain period of time. There was some brilliant research done by Expedia some years ago, where I think they found that on average, the average customer visits 96 different web pages before making a purchase decision, something along those lines. It was a ridiculously high number. But you can understand that because there is so much choice nowadays, and you can look at meta search, OTAs, individual websites, of course. AI is simplifying that, of course, but indeed, what used to happen frequently was this whole process of searching, comparing, visiting websites before making a purchase decision. The new search journey is very different. Now AI sits between the traveler and the hotel, and AI is getting involved in almost all cases. There was a research done by Booking.com that found 80% of their customers are using AI at some part in the booking journey. So we all know this is the direction of travel when it comes to how discoverable your hotel is. So the AI sits between, so it effectively researches, it filters, and it recommends before the guest ever visits a website. So we as guests, we as travelers, we start sending, we tell it broadly where we want to go, what we're looking for. The AI does the heavy research lifting, and then ultimately it comes up with a series of recommendations. And then at some point that leads to a traveler booking the hotel. So what's actually been changing? Well, search is increasingly becoming agentic. What does that mean? Well, today's guest searches and tomorrow's guest effectively delegates off to some form of AI agent. So increasingly, AI will evaluate your hotel before a human ever does. And it looks something like this. So effectively, the traveler or the guest initiates a request. It uses an AI agent to autonomously handling those tasks. It researches, it gathers options and insights, and it compares and analyzes choices and trade-offs, in particular, what that specific guest is looking for. So Google, after this announcement, can now research before it answers. And we've sort of been familiar with this for a while now, because obviously AI overviews, or search generative experience as it used to be known, it has been in the search engine result pages now for coming close to 2 years. But effectively, when you consider that traditional SEO or search engine optimization, the process of getting your website on page one, it was largely dependent on your website. There were some other factors, of course, but now it's far more holistic. So your website, your OTA listings, travel guides, news, YouTube reviews, all of these things are influencing what AI says about you, but also whether or not you get recommended. Search is no longer just text. Some of you might have the Google app, and you've been able to utilize things like voice and photos and videos and conversations there for a while. Certainly, if I find an odd bug in the garden, and I will go out with the kids and we'll say, oh, let's take a picture of it and work out what this is, which is lovely. But now that is increasingly going to be used, and customers will have that ability on mobile and desktop, and they're going to be encouraging multimedia. So your hotel must be understandable across every format, whether that's voice, photos, videos, and indeed conversation. And importantly, every traveler is now going to see a very different Google. So there is no longer one ranking position. Google increasingly matches hotels to travelers, not keywords. So if we take the family traveler, they're going to receive one set of hotel recommendations. The couples are going to receive a very different recommendation. And indeed, the luxury traveler is going to receive a different recommendation again altogether. So this is largely based around what Google knows about you, but also the type of prompt that you put in. So gone are the days when we used to say, oh, look, aren't we doing great? We're on page one for this keyword. It just doesn't exist anymore. It's very, very fluid. And it's going to be far less about keywords, what search terms we rank for, but more about how relevant we are for each individual type of traveler. So the most important shift is this: Google is becoming less interested in ranking pages and more interested in understanding brands. And there's a subtle but important distinction there. So what Google used to ask is which pages rank highest, but now Google will ask, which hotel can I confidently recommend? It used to ask which website matches the keyword. Now it asks which hotel best matches the traveler. It used to ask which page has the authority. So you might be familiar with a domain authority score that Moz created some years ago. But now it actually asks which brand has authority, and which result used to be asked more about which recommendation gets chosen. So my key takeaway for the number one for this presentation is that Google is becoming less interested in ranking pages and much more interested in understanding brands. It wants to understand your business, not just where you think it should rank. So section 2, the big one, what page 1 will look like. The search results page is effectively being redesigned around AI, and here's what's coming. So here's what it used to look like, or here's what it currently looks like. Obviously, there's a few more bells and whistles in this. It's a very sort of simplified diagram, but effectively, Google used to be split between paid results and organic results. You paid for you run paid search ads, and generally you would appear at the top, and the organic results would appear below. So obviously, you paid ads would always get you the highest level of visibility, but of course you've got to pay per click. So Google is moving away from sort of ranking pages to recommending brands. This is what it's actually going to start looking like, or at least as much as we know. So page one is fundamentally changing. And the key distinction here is that obviously AI overviews have been prominent now for some time. 50% of all searches feature an AI overview. We think that's going to go up increasingly. And importantly, all of the other stuff that you're familiar with page one is being pushed down. So there's some stuff going on at the side, but all the organic spots, even possibly the paid ads, are going to be pushed down or even pushed to the side. So importantly, it is more important than ever before to be recommended within that AI overview. Everything will look very different to individual, depending on the type of search that you that you make. So one search will see a completely different interface. Another search will see something completely different, and the level of and how well integrated the user is with Google, whether they've got a Gmail account, how much they know about them, whether it's on an incognito browser, all of these things, that it will vary wildly. But suffice to say, the most important thing now is not getting ranked on page one. It is being recommended. So my big assertion is simply, you've got to work at getting recommended on by AI. That was sort of an up and coming thing even 6 months ago. Now it's becoming essential, because the way that hotels have ranked organically is effectively changing quite a great deal. So recommendations will become more visible than rankings. So ultimately, this could feature in an AI overview through AI mode, or of course, the same is true for all the other AI platforms like ChatGPT, etc. Traffic, that obviously is a bit of an inconvenient truth. Website traffic, as I'm sure you've probably seen from your own analytics, is going down, regardless of what you do. So the old KPI was all about, we've been doing SEO for close to 10 years now. And it always used to be, right, how much traffic can we get to the website? And obviously, how much of that traffic goes on to book? But how many people visited your site, measured in sessions, page views, and bounce rates? Those metrics are just not as relevant today, and certainly as these changes take hold, than they used to be. So recommendation visibility becomes the new KPI. How often AI recommends your hotel, measured in AI mentions, sentiment, and share of recommendation. So obviously, these are KPIs. They're not the fundamental metrics that we want to see to demonstrate return on investment from all of our resources or money or whatever it is. They are key performance indicators, but we ultimately need to be getting bookings through our website from any investment. Nonetheless, this KPI is a much better indication of things are moving in the right direction. And unfortunately, the clock is ticking. So in 2026, as it said, this interface shift is happening. So AI overviews and AI mode become the dominant format on Google search. Traditional organic listings, they will lose their prominence. That's not to say you should stop doing SEO. It just means that you've got to do it in a very different way and incorporate things like GEO, AEO, and all these other acronyms, which I won't go into now. So that's happening this year, and sort of in a matter of weeks. But it's not going to be an overnight shift, because people's behavior will change over time. So we think by 2027, travelers will stop clicking through to hotel websites as they become more accustomed to these user interface changes that Google is effectively applying. AI answers will replace the research phase entirely. And by 2028, which really isn't that far away, 18 months, hotels, there's going to be a booking shift, we believe. Hotels not visible in AI recommendations, see measurable declines in direct bookings and organic discovery, which, I don't want to sort of, be all sort of scaremongering, but it kind of makes sense because AI, as customers, as guests trust it more, they won't feel the need to do the manual research. They'll believe that AI can produce really good results. Okay, it's given me 5. It will be one of those 5 that I book. So it's really essential that we do as much now as we can to get ahead of this curve. So 2 key takeaways from this section. Within the next few months, organic traffic to your website will start to decline at a faster rate as those changes come in. Getting recommended by Google's AI is the new page 1 ranking. It must be considered a priority. That leads us to the rise of the AI shadow, which we coined some time ago, and we've been talking about it a great deal. And I'll explain exactly what it is and why it's so important. So AI is already forming an opinion about your hotel, whether you know it or not. So to explain this, we need to sort of break it down into the most sort of distilled version of digital marketing. And I like to explain it in this simple way, that before AI got involved, digital marketing, whether it was outsourced or done in-house, simply had 2 roles. The first was build digital assets that inform, entice, and convert. So website, social media, optimize your aggregator listings. All of this stuff, we're building digital assets, and we want to encourage people to come and visit and book. The second role of digital marketing before AI got involved was to drive visibility and traffic to those assets. So we could do that in one of 2 ways. We could do that through organic means, and typically that would be SEO, getting ranked on page 1 of Google, or indeed we could grow our social media following. Or of course we could pay for it. So we could run a variety of different ads on a variety of different platforms. And generally speaking, you invest in one, you pay for the other, and a rounded strategy would generally have both of those working simultaneously. So when we break it down, when we break it down, there are 2 types of ways that we can get customers to us through digital marketing. We can target them through behavior, or we can target them based on their demographical or geographical specifications. So based on behavior, it was typically when people would make a branded search, so that's a search that included your hotel name, or indeed a non-branded search that sort of broadly described your product, like hotels near location. And with demographical or geographical targeting, we could effectively interrupt users or guests' social or web browsing through either ads or a variety of other means. And effectively, all we were trying to do was, when people would make a search, we were trying to get them to our website or indeed to our social channels. So get them to our owned digital assets, the stuff that we've worked hard to curate and optimize and build. So digital marketing, effectively, before AI, was simply this bit, the green arrows and the assets that we built. We're trying to get people to those assets. Very kind of basic explanation of digital marketing. And why I've gone to this level of detail to explain this is because AI is getting in the way here. Increasingly, when people make a search or a non-branded search in either today's Google or certainly tomorrow's Google, when these changes come into effect at the end of the summer, people are seeing AI before they're stopping our ability to get people to our owned digital assets. And what they're seeing is what I like to deem your AI shadow. It's effectively your AI's interpretation of your brand. It's a sort of a summary of what AI thinks about you. And importantly, I think this is your most important digital asset now, not your website, not your social, not your booking.com page, but indeed, I think it's your AI shadow is increasingly the most important thing that you've got digitally in your business. Why? Because it's an interpretation of your brand. And a good way to think of it is it's like your unique selling points, your online reputation, and an impartial critique all wrapped into one, as if like a journalist had actually visited your hotel and gave their honest appraisal of their experience. And this AI shadow can take many different forms, but generally it takes one of these two. The first is a 1 to 2 sentence recommendation. So if we compare this with traditional search using this hotel, it's highly considered. The meta title, as you can see in blue, the URL, and indeed the meta description, a couple of sentences that you can see, very highly considered and all designed to attract people to your website. The AI shadow version, far less salesy, far less enticing, and far more descriptive. So we get a bit more information here, but generally it's sort of just a simple explanation. But the most important thing about this is that it's very similar to the meta description in the traditional search, that couple of sentences at the top, but you didn't write it. For the first time in digital marketing history, we don't have as much influence as we used to in terms of that first impression. And of course, it could be a lot worse when people start asking things like, oh, tell me the pros and cons of staying at your hotel. So obviously we get some lovely glowing pros stuff, but we also get some negative cons, the negative sentiment. And of course, this negative stuff, we all do it. We all look at it first. We avoid the 5-star reviews and just look at the 1 stars. What did they say? It's the same with your AI shadow. This stuff is your gatekeeper content now. So we need to, as much as humanly possible, influence what AI is saying about us. We can't control, but we can influence. So why is this so important? At the risk of repeating myself, it is your new first impression of your brand, certainly when people are making these searches, and indeed when they start making searches when Google makes these big changes. The digital assets that we've really worked hard, we've built, we've curated, we've optimized, they've been through multiple rounds of approval. All of this stuff only gets seen if the customer goes beyond that AI shadow that has no rounds of approval, that you probably wouldn't approve, but is out there right now and your customers are seeing it. So how your business is described across the entirety of the internet matters more now than where you rank. Of course, ranking will change, but how nice your website looks too. So my key point is simply this. Digital marketers, I believe, have 2 new growing responsibilities. In the last couple of years, 2024, even 2025 to a degree, we had 2 responsibilities. Build brand assets that inform, entice, and convert. And we had to drive visibility and traffic to those assets. In 2026, increasingly, we have 2 new responsibilities, and I believe in priority order. Number 1, get recommended by AI. Be one of the 4 or 5 hotels that it recommends. Number 2, influence what your AI shadow says. And of course, those bottom 2 are still in existence. We still need to create websites. We still need to run ads to drive traffic and visibility to those digital assets. But importantly, these 2 things at the top are coming into play and add to the work of the digital marketing team. So the CARBS framework. I'm going to lay out for you the strategic framework for building AI visibility in 2026. What does it all look like? Well, the successful hotels of the next few years will build balanced digital growth systems. I call it the CARBS. There are actually 3 parts. I'm not going to go into it in too much detail, the other 2 in too much detail today, because it's too much more than we've got time for. But the CARBS framework is fundamentally all about AI, visibility, and discovery. We've also got protein and fats as a sort of, if anybody's into their macronutrients and nutrition, you'll appreciate that a good balanced diet has all 3 of these macronutrients. And so we've applied them in a tongue-in-cheek sort of way to building a balanced digital strategy. So CARBS is all about your AI visibility and discovery. Protein is your conversion and revenue, and fats is your loyalty and retention. So let's go through the CARBS framework now. Customer clarity is the C in the CARBS framework. It means you've got to clearly define who your hotel is for, so guests, platforms, and AI can instantly recognize your value. Why does this matter? Well, in a very AI-driven discovery world, ambiguity, any sort of ambiguity, makes you invisible. So a simple action I would encourage every hotel to do, whether they're established or otherwise: define your hotel in one sentence. This hotel is best for these people who want this experience in or near this location. And you might be thinking, well, we're a resort hotel, we've got spa, we've got 3 restaurants, whatever it is. You cater for a plethora of different customer types, and that's fine, but you can't have dozens. So you've got to narrow it right down and be really clear who your hotel is for. Like in the instance of Native, who we've worked with for many years now, we created a piece of content over Easter talking about the benefits of their apartments for families. Now, obviously, they cater a huge amount for business travelers as well as leisure travelers too, but we focused in on families in this instance to great effect. A stands for authority mentions. So, this has been around in visibility and SEO for a long time, but it is carrying more weight, I would argue, than it ever has. Getting trusted third parties talking about your hotel. So why does this matter? Well, AI borrows confidence from credible sources. So the more authoritative the mention, the more your hotel is surfaced in AI-generated recommendations. So simple actions: pursue press coverage and travel guide features, which is traditionally sort of a more digital PR route. But quick win, trade press coverage is a really easy win. So if you've got something meaningful to say, get a press release together and get it over to the trade press and see if you can start to build up some great authority mentions through those publications. R stands for reviews. Now, reviews are increasingly shaping how AI understands your hotel's strengths. So why this matters is that AI reads patterns, not just star ratings. So specific language in reviews like quiet room, fast checkout, exceptional breakfast, these are all feeding your AI discovery. And a very simple, almost overly simplistic suggestion here, I'm almost embarrassed to say it, but it's such a simple win. Encourage specificity. Do not ask, how did we do? Don't ask, how was your stay? Ask, what did you enjoy the most? That simple change would get higher caliber of review and will fuel the AI's understanding of your business better. And it's also really important to address recurring issues. So if you've got tired rooms that that your refurb in January will sort out, you want to address those in the responses to your reviews. B stands for brand consistency, and I don't just mean Booking.com, TripAdvisor, and Google Business Profile. It has to be everywhere. As you can see from the image, in the UK, we have 27 listings that need to be considered. In the US, I think it's more like 45. In Europe, I think it's similar to the UK. Some of these more obscure directory listings, you may not have a presence, or indeed it may be incorrect. You're very unlikely to get bookings from some of these directory listings, but that's not the point. You've got to make sure that you've got consistency across the board. So any inconsistency, and it's really pedantic as well. So if you're street on one and ST on another, that's going to be going against you. Any conflicting descriptions, again, that undermines credibility. So very simple: audit your name, address, and phone number on every channel. Make sure you've got one positioning statement, one voice, and make sure that that is duplicated everywhere. As soon as there's any level of inconsistency, that's really going against your ability to get recommended. Finally, the S stands for strengthen machine readability. So helping AI understand and parse. AI doesn't read your website, it passes through it. So sort of a way of it understanding the content. And recommend your hotel. So why this matters? So any unstructured websites are invisible to algorithms, shaping guest discovery. So simple things: structured FAQ sections, schema markup, and clear content hierarchies, and answer the questions guests are already asking AI before they reach you. A very simple kind of litmus test is if you've not had a new website in the last 5 years, depending on who did it, you may not have any sort of structure or schema markup on that site. You may do, but my experience is that you probably don't. So you don't necessarily need a new website, but you do need to get it coded in the correct way. Don't get too bogged down with the jargon. It's simply a way of coding the site in a way that can be more easily found and recommended by AI, which obviously now includes Google. I won't go into the other acronyms today. I'll provide all the information on the QR code if you want to go to that page and download the resources. But the protein framework is paid media, revenue optimization, offers to book, direct, targeting by generation, experience optimization, intent capture, and non-branded demand. FATS is all about maximizing your email marketing as well. Again, if you want to dive deeper on those subjects, feel free to use the resources on the QR code. Finally, that leaves us to your 90-day action plan. Some practical steps to start building AI visibility for your hotel, starting this week if you can. Number one, perform a site audit. Visit scoreplan.ai or frankly any other solution that is going to give you a good technical site audit. This is really important. We set up ScorePlan as a simple software to help simplify what is actually going on. You get a simple score and you get a simple plan. So you can very quickly understand what is holding back your AI visibility. We like to describe these as visibility anchors, stuff that is weighing your site down from actually getting the recommendations that it perhaps deserves. Number two, I've mentioned this a few times, get FAQs on pretty much every main page. So if you look at go to your website, see the top navigation, I would be putting FAQs on every one of those top navigation pages. So create 2 to 3 sentence sort of answer capsules, we like to call them, very simple ones that you can just include. And of course, the more accurate based on actual questions you can get on this, the better. Monitor your AI shadow. So track how you're being recommended, monitor for negative sentiment, and understand what those cons are of choosing your hotel over your competitors. And structure your website for AI. So very simple one here, llms.txt file. It's a simple file, pretty easy to do if you know how to do it and upload it. Speak to your web developers if you're not particularly technically minded, but it's a simple thing that helps AI better understand your website. And again, add schema markup to content, events, FAQs, for example. And finally, fix technical issues. This is probably the easiest one. Things like missing meta descriptions, descriptive alt text to images, and an XML sitemap. Again, don't get too worried about the jargon. It's simply some of the technical stuff that makes your website work. You can run a simple site audit, again, and understand exactly what's holding you back. And getting those fixed is more important now than it perhaps has ever been in the sort of the history of SEO. So to finish, thank you if you've made it this far, thank you for watching. I hope you've got lots of value from today. I'm going to summarize with my 5 key takeaways. Google is becoming less interested in ranking pages and more interested in understanding brands. Within the next few months, organic traffic to your website will start to decline at a faster rate once these changes have come in and customers or searchers, guests, travelers are starting to shift their behavior. Getting recommended by Google's AI is effectively becoming the new page 1 ranking because of where it sits within the search engine's result page. So it's got to be considered a priority. And your marketing strategy has 2 new priorities. Get recommended by AI and influence what your AI shadow says about you. Finally, use that CARBS framework to improve visibility and discovery in this new era of AI search. So you might be wondering, where do I go from here? Well, we're offering 2 ways to move forward with us, should you wish. You can use that QR code to get the slides, but you can also join our waitlist for our AI Visibility Masterclass, which we're going to be launching in 3 weeks' time. If you're somebody that says, you know what, I would like to do this myself, I want to train my internal team to do this stuff for us, we're creating a course that's really going to help you get started on all of this, really detailed. You can work at your own pace. And that's going to be launching in the next 3 weeks. You can jump on the wait list for that. The second thing is a digital tidy up. If you want to work more closely with my agency, we only have the capacity for 3 of these digital tidy ups per month, but it's effectively a done for you assessment. We build on that CARBS framework and we deliver it in 3 to 4 weeks. So you can expect all of those sort of technical issues and brand consistency and all that sort of good stuff that we've talked about today. That would just be fixed for you in a matter of weeks. Normally we can do it quicker, but sometimes it takes a while to propagate across the internet. So if that's of interest, again, use that QR code and you can sign up for one of those digital tidy ups. So to summarize, the AI Visibility Masterclass, if you want to do it yourself, you can. It's going to be launching soon. It'll be very self-led. It'll be lots of very simple sort of 5 to 10 minute videos that you can work at your own pace. And a digital tidy up, as I say, is much more detailed. We're going to do it for you. If you just want this delegated, done by the experts, then by all means, you can follow that QR code and go through the process there. I really hope today has been useful for you. I hope it's been valuable. Again, feel free to get those slides for free on that QR code. I will be around for any questions. If not, email me at adam@thisisformula.com. I really thank you for listening today. I should be around in the comments, so drop me a message and I'll hopefully come back to you as soon as I can. All the best. Thanks for listening.